practice the right Buddha Dharma. From beginning to enlightenment. The Book of Practice. Master Thich. Preface. Dear readers, practitioners, over time, many of us have turned to Buddhism in the hope of finding a way to escape the suffering of human existence. Unfortunately, over the 2,500 years since its emergence in India, the Buddha Shakyamuni's teachings have spread across many regions and undergone significant changes, leading to the loss of their core value, the truth of liberation. Practitioners are lost in a jungle of empty theories and unable to find the Dharma practice originally taught by the Buddha, so their practice doesn't bring about liberation, and they continue to be immersed in the suffering of birth, aging, sickness, death, and drifting in samsara. Fortunately for us, in this day and age, Arahant Thich appeared in Vietnam. By practicing the Buddha's teachings accurately from the original Nikaya scriptures translated into Vietnamese by the revered Venerable Thich Minh Chau, he attained enlightenment and restored the true Buddha Dharma in Vietnam, establishing monasteries to instruct practitioners. After the elder left this world, his disciple, Bhikkhu Thich continued to spread the true Buddha Dharma to the masses. Through successful practice, Bhikkhu Thich shared his cultivation experiences and practical scientific Dharma practices in a common language, helping practitioners easily accept and practice the Buddha's teachings. In this small book, Master Thien clearly displays the cultivation path for the practitioners from the beginning to enlightenment and guides practitioners in practicing the fundamental Dharma to achieve the goal of liberation. We are pleased to respectfully introduce to you this valuable practice manual.
Introduction. More than 2,500 years ago, when the Buddha entered nirvana, he taught his disciples, "Take my precepts and teachings as your teacher. Light your own torch and go." In today's era, there is a monk, Thien, who has practiced according to the Buddha's teachings. He has practiced, saved himself, conquered himself, and attained enlightenment. He wanted to follow in the Buddha's footsteps, but considering the countless suffering minds still untouched by the true Dharma, he decided to expand the teachings of the Buddha's Dharma with practical scientific practices, specific, meticulous, clear, easy to understand, easy to practice, and adaptable to everyone, every situation, all ages. He uses a common language and avoids classical Chinese. He shared valuable cultivation experiences, hoping to help practitioners of today and future generations clearly understand the true Buddha Dharma, so that everyone can know practice correctly, attain enlightenment. 1. Introduction to Yoni Manasikara, wise attention, and 6 basic practices with the Dharma of progression. Send to all our beloved Buddhist followers who cherish the true Dharma. The Dharma is a path of pure practice. Only by practical cultivation and experience on the body and mind can one find accurate answers and see the truth. To practice the true Dharma, through the experience that Master Thien has achieved, he guides the practice as follows. 1. The practitioners maintain their normal daily routine without changing anything. You begin to constantly think and direct your mind, "I want to become a monk," to nurture the mind of practicing. When feeling like practicing, the practitioner should first familiarize the practice of wise attention and the Dharma of progression, making them proficient and the mind accustomed to them. Wise attention is the practice of constantly directing the mind to be aware of what the practitioner intends. The Dharma of progression is when the practitioner initially practices for a short period. When your mind becomes accustomed, you gradually increase the duration. Why is it necessary to start with short periods to get used to it, and then gradually increase the duration? Because the mind is accustomed to a wrong lifestyle and bad Dharma. Now, we practice to get the mind used to living in the good Dharma. So we have to practice slowly and steadily to guide the mind. If you practice too quickly, it will be counterproductive. Once the mind cannot keep up and will forget, the thing will be useless. This is the key point, and we must understand that we practice for the mind. Practice the mind to become accustomed, not training to achieve a task. For those who are starting to learn to practice, they need to practice one method, a single Dharma. That is, before going to sleep and just waking up, standing, lying down, or sitting as desired, start breathing in deeply and breathing out lightly, repeating for 5 breaths. When breathing, only pay attention to the philtrum, right between the 2 nostrils and the upper lip. When the mind is familiar, increase the breathing time to 10 breaths and gradually increase it. Simultaneously, practice long-distance meditation. After a while, the practitioner will know for himself whether he can practice or not. If the practitioner can practice, let's proceed to 2. Then the practitioner gradually progresses through practice to become familiar and master wise attention and the following 6 basic methods. 1. Sitting in full lotus posture with a straight back. 2. Seclusion. 3. Mindfulness of breathing. 4. Walking meditation. 5. Clear meditation. 6. Eating only a vegetarian meal a day.
3.
When practicing the proper wise attention and mastering the 6 basic methods, the mind becomes receptive, prompting the practitioner to pick a Buddhist Dharma that suits him. At that time, the practitioner resolves to diligently practice the one chosen, practicing until it enters the mind, which is considered work complete.
Note: to practice the right Dharma, the practitioner must put himself in the right position. What does it mean to place oneself in the correct position? Example 1. When we practice wise attention, because it is too new, we need to make our minds familiar with it. Let's place ourselves like child and then practice gradually. We meditate on short sentences to help the mind remember for a long time. We must put our attention many times, like in childhood, to learning a lesson. Read it over and over again. Example 2. When we perceive through the 4 Noble Truths, we become enlightened and want to practice. We must place ourselves as a dirty, disgusting, abhorrent person. From that, we then have the will to cultivate to liberate ourselves. If we consider ourselves noble or know our own decay and filth, but try to hide these, such as dressing up beautifully, wearing perfume, and acting gracefully in front of everyone to show off that we are a monk, then don't practice. It is useless. Example 3. When we decide to enter the holy stream of practice to escape reincarnation, we should first practice wise attention and the 6 basic practices until they are perfect. Then we must put ourselves in the situation of having death. Thanks to that, we no longer care about what happens around us. We only study one Buddha Dharma and diligently practice. Even if there is an earthquake or fire in the place where we are practicing, we do not care. Because our body at that time was impermanent. We just let it be free by itself. Now the Master will give specific instructions on each method of practice so that practitioners can understand it thoroughly and then apply the practice immediately. 2. Wise attention, mind training. What is wise attention? It is when we use short, direct words to the matter that we want the mind to be familiar with, good Dharma. Always, regularly, and long-term, we remind the mind to memorize it. When the mind is familiar, it will follow our commands. Why do we have to train the mind to be familiar with the words of attention? Because the mind is like our child. It demands whatever we have to please it. The mind often runs after greed from the moment we are born. Now, to cultivate the path to transcend the suffering of birth, aging, sickness, and death, we must reduce greed. To diminish craving, we must gradually train the mind to relinquish these desires. Therefore, we must consistently, regularly, and persistently remind the mind of good words of Dharma. In this way, the mind will gradually move away from evil and return to live in good. Practitioners remember that each person is a private world, so we must create our own words of attention that are suitable for us so that the mind can easily accept them. Wise attention has 3 cases. 1. Permanent case, long-term attention. That is, we choose a suitable sentence for our characteristic nature to put our mind into a fixed state and come with a determination that we would rather die than change. We always, regularly, and permanently attend to a short sentence to remind our mind to be familiar throughout life. Our attention is to keep our mind pure forever, and our mind is not tempted to chase after food, money, power, and benefits, or anything that we do not want to entangle the mind with. For example, Master Tung Lok's attention is, mind is as white as a conch shell, contemplating greed, contemplating anger, contemplating delusion. Never imitate Master Tung Lok. This is a sentence that matches Master Tung Lok's own characteristics. To use this attention sentence, we must clearly understand the words in use. The meaning of these words must enter our mind, or we must always, frequently, and persistently think about those words. Typically, a mind as white as a snail shell. This means one must preserve the mind from being stained by impurities, money, fame, praise, or criticism. Eat only 1 meal a day and face death without wavering. Don't care about dressing up. Don't interact with unnecessary social relationships. Determined to keep the mind pure forever. If someone uses the phrase mind like earth, they must understand what mind like earth means. If they take the phrase mind like fire, they fully should comprehend what mind like fire entails. When the meaning is clearly understood, wise attention will have a good effect. 2. Occasional and regular case, short-term attention. It is mindful attention to eliminate ingrained habits or cultivate new ones on the path of practice. Attending to remind the mind before practice leads to a sense of peace. If the mind is not used to it, do not practice, as it will be very uncomfortable. Like Master Tang Thien, the first thing is to be vegetarian. He attends, stop eating animal lives. They also want to live. Or, the practitioner may apply mindful attention, I should be vegetarian, and thinking of eating animal lives is so cruel. They also need to live like me. After 90 days of such attention, he can be vegetarian and eat very deliciously without any discomfort or hunger. Because the mind becomes familiar and responsive, everything proceeds smoothly. The duration of applying mindful attention is long or short, depending on the practitioner's mind receiving the attended words. Therefore, the practitioner should create his own mindful attention phrases that his mind can easily accept. Once the vegetarian diet was established, he applied mindful attention to reduce to 2 meals a day and then gradually decreased to 1 meal a day. Upon reaching 1 meal a day, he continues to attend, life is impermanent. Lustful desires depart from my body. I no longer need you. Contemplate to abandon greed, anger, and delusion. Proceed in this sequential manner, one task after another. Whether the practitioner wishes to apply mindful attention to give up illness or give up bad habits, the arrangement is entirely up to your own discretion. 3. Immediate case, immediate attention. That is, we naturally have a desire for something. For example, when we are hungry before a meal, we apply mindful attention. Even if I starve to death, I will not eat, and then we are no longer hungry. Also, if we suddenly desire to go out, we immediately think, I will not go. We suddenly remember something sad. Let's say to ourselves, what is there to remember? What is the point of remembering? After finishing the thought, we will immediately feel no more desire. Note, don't confuse wise attention with self-suggestion. Although they are both attention, they have two distinct orientations. 1. The tendency to satisfy greed is called self-suggestion. For example, if we want to do something, we just stick to it. One day, we will achieve it. When the mind is well trained, it will push us towards success. 2. The inclination to practice renunciation, abandoning the satisfaction of desires, is called yoniso manasikara, wise attention. Constantly directing the mind to think about it is also wise attention. For example, if we direct our mind to cultivate spiritual practice, continuously directing it is practicing the method of directing the mind. When the mind is thoroughly imbued and we decide to practice, we attain enlightenment immediately. To avoid being emotionally disturbed, tormented by pain when receiving news of a loved one's passing, from this moment onwards, let's all sing Ta Thien Ang Len Diang Ra Ting Chien Cha Cha Cha, and then contemplate that when people die, they change their lives to lessen suffering, and that we too must die. After a period of mental familiarization, when we receive news of a loved one's passing, we calmly accept the truth and handle the funeral arrangements as best as possible. 3. The Dharma of Progress. The Dharma of Progress refers to a method of cultivation in which practitioners begin with short periods of practice. As the mind becomes accustomed, they gradually increase the duration. If the mind is not used to it, and you rush to increase the duration, the mind will resist, causing discomfort and anxiety. Example 1. Practitioners who want to sit in lotus pose. Initially, the practitioner sits for 1 minute to get used to it. Even though it's painful, the practitioner can endure it because the initial sitting time is so short. When the mind gets used to it, the practitioner gradually increases it to 2 minutes and then 5 minutes. By rising progressively like that, the practitioner will be able to sit peacefully day and night, no longer experiencing leg pain or fatigue. Due to the short initial practice time, the practitioner can practice many times, morning, noon, afternoon, and evening. If the time increases, the number of times of practice should decrease. For those who can't sit in the full lotus position yet, don't worry. Just sit in the half lotus or with both soles of your feet touching. When the mind gets used to it, and when entering the Dharma, the mind no longer knows pain, and the mind automatically pushes us to sit in the lotus position easily. Master Tang Thien had severe leg swelling, preventing him from sitting in the lotus position. However, through practice, his swelling gradually subsided and he could sit in the lotus position without any pain. That's because his mind no longer feared pain. Example 2. Practitioners who want to practice seclusion. At first, the practitioner locks himself in a room for 10 minutes. After the mind gets used to it, the practitioner increases it to 20 minutes and continued to increasing it until staying in the room without contacting anyone for 6 months is already very good. 4. Practice one method, a single Dharma. This is a unique practice, tested by Master Thien. This method helps everyone, and those who practice all receive wonderful results. It is hard to believe, but true. Here are 1. Before sleeping, the practitioner can sit or lie down as they prefer, but they must choose only one method and stick to it to acclimate the mind. Before breathing, the practitioner attends, I know I am breathing in, breathing out, contemplating greed, contemplating anger, contemplating delusion. Inhale deeply and exhale gently. For exactly 5 breaths, setting the attention, I know I am stopping, contemplating greed, contemplating anger, contemplating delusion. When breathing, observe the philtrum right between the 2 nostrils and the upper lip. Remember to observe, but don't pay attention or focus on anything. By continuing to observe, when the practice becomes familiar, the mind will automatically begin to attend and clearly sense the breath in and out. This will lead to a feeling of lightness, comfort, peace, and well-being without mental suppression, headaches, or dizziness. 2. When starting to want to sleep, attend to the sleeping time and waking time. For example, if you sleep at 10 o'clock and wake up at 4 o'clock, attend why goes to sleep and remembers to wake up at 4 o'clock. Please ensure to say your name right. It's also good to have an alarm clock. By consistently attending in this way, after a while, when the mind becomes accustomed to listening, you will feel, when you want to sleep, your attention will lead you peacefully into sleep, and when it's time to wake up, your mind naturally wakes you up in a comfortable and peaceful state. Thanks to practicing, you are absolutely not afraid of insomnia. Even though you sleep less, you are still healthy and happy. 3. When you wake up, don't linger in bed. Let's get up, sit still, and take 5 long, gentle breaths, just like you did before falling asleep. 4. Don't rush or hurry. Practice the 5 breaths until your mind is accustomed to them. When the breaths become gentle, natural, and not uncomfortable, you can increase it to 10 breaths. Keep increasing it gradually. If you can increase it to a half hour, that's great. After 3 months, you will feel your body comfortable, refreshed, and light. Your mind will be more alert and clear. Your temperament will be gentle and lovely. Amazing! At the same time, you will no longer fear illness. 6. This practice is beneficial for everyone and will eliminate nervousness and anxiety. Especially for students, they will learn their lessons quickly and will not be anxious and worried when entering the exam room, causing them to forget what they have learned and fail the exam. The practice helps athletes and players not be out of breath while competing for the championship titles. 5. Long-distance walking meditation. Long-distance walking meditation sounds easy, but when practicing, most people do it wrongly. The teacher has found a way to guide everyone to understand. 1. Normal walking is to depend on your nature. Those who are naturally fast should walk fast, and those who are naturally slow should walk slow. But it must be leisurely, gentle, leisurely, and comfortable. 2. When walking, you enjoy the scenery and observe people. But when doing walking meditation, you focus on your footsteps. Just pay attention. You don't need to look directly at your feet because it will make your neck tired. Instead, look forward, your head slightly bowed, your eyes glancing down so that your footsteps are within your line of sight. 3. To begin, the practitioner practices for 10 minutes, attending walking a long path mindfully. I know I am practicing long-distance walking meditation, contemplating greed, contemplating anger, and contemplating delusion. While walking, he attends, walk until your feet are strong and the stones are soft. Walk until your steady mind helps you practice diligently to reach the goal, contemplating greed, contemplating anger, and contemplating delusion. Walk for a while and then set a long-term attention. For example, the mind is as white as a conch shell, contemplating greed, contemplating anger, and contemplating delusion. Walk a distance and then attend to dispel what you want to chase away from your mind. For example, in an impermanent life, lust leaves my body, contemplating greed, contemplating anger, and contemplating delusion. Walk a little and attend to chase away the illness. If you have an illness, for example, a headache, let's attend life is impermanent. The headache leaves my body, contemplating greed, anger, and delusion. That is enough for one song. 4. While walking, keep singing it over and over again. Once you get used to it, you will walk like that tirelessly, losing track of time. After 10 minutes, stop and attend stop long walking meditation. Contemplate greed, contemplate anger, and contemplate delusion. If there is still free time during the day, the practitioner can practice many more times as desired. Once getting used to the 10-minute practice, the practitioner gradually increases it to 15 minutes, 20 minutes, etc. 5. What are the benefits of walking like that? 1. Fights drowsiness. 2. Cures laziness. 3. Increases willpower and enthusiasm for practice. 4. Enhance health. 5. Get skillful attention. 6. No longer aware of the passage of time. 7. Eliminates arising thoughts. 6. Eliminating arising thoughts is the key and the foundation to help us practice mindfulness of breathing and clear awareness meditation, relinquish the mind, direct the mind, focus the mind, and be free from desire and evil. All fundamental dharmas lead to the result of eliminating arising thoughts, making it easier for us to enter meditative absorption later. 7. What other benefits does regular long-distance walking meditation have? By walking continuously and intending continuously, those with serious illnesses may unintentionally recover from their illnesses. 8. Practicing the true Dharma requires strength, comfort, and the creation of enthusiastic spirit, regardless of anyone else. For example, when we practice the 6 basic dharmas in too short a time, we feel a bit bored and a bit discouraged. Just be natural, close the door, tiptoe, jump up and down to create an enthusiastic spirit ready to fight against our greed. Remember not to jump or walk too vigorously. Gradually increase the time. Additionally, because we initially practice the 6 fundamental practices for too short a time, we can consider practicing 1, 2, or 3 more times in the same way at appropriate times, depending on our circumstances. It is necessary to attend constantly, like practicing singing. 9. Depending on the situation, you can walk around the house, the yard, the room, or back and forth. When walking meditation, do not greet someone walking in the opposite direction because you are not looking outside. 10. Throughout long-distance walking meditation, we pay attention to our moving feet. Gradually, this familiarity turns into attention. When our eyes pay attention to our moving feet, it creates a magnetic field, a circle of concentration to protect our body. 11. Wonderful things will come. When we are seriously ill or at the moment of death, we will feel the natural reaction in our bodies that automatically cultivates, bringing us wonderful peace. 6. 6 basic methods. 1. Sitting in full lotus posture with a straight back. For beginners, just sit for 1 minute. Older people can lean against a wall. If anyone cannot cross their legs, they can follow these steps. 1. The practitioner sits on a brick and then presses their knees down close to the floor to get used to it. Once accustomed, remove the brick. 2. The practitioner sits in a half lotus position, with one leg resting on the thigh, the left leg first or the right leg, depending on the practitioner's preference. Once accustomed, the practitioner switches legs. When the practitioner is comfortable with the half lotus position, they can begin practicing the lotus position. 3. Enduring becomes familiar. After 1 minute, the practitioner overcomes the pain. Then you gradually increase the time, minute by minute, until they can sit for 8 hours straight without any pain or numbness in their legs. Now they can sit day and night in peace. When beginning to sit, remember to attend, sit in the lotus position with a straight back. I know I am sitting in the lotus position with a straight back, contemplating greed, contemplating anger, contemplating delusion. When ending the sitting, set your attention. Stop. I know I am stopping, contemplating greed, contemplating anger, contemplating delusion. Those who have already been able to sit can just sit normally. Your hands can be placed in any way as long as it is comfortable. When you first practice a lotus position with a straight back, avoid closing your eyes. If you close your eyes, you will fall into thoughts and become sleeping. Keep your eyes open naturally, focusing on a point within your field of vision. Don't think about anything. Don't look around. At first, we practice with the purpose of getting our minds used to sitting so that we no longer feel pain in our legs. Even if we sit for 8 hours or more, our legs will not go numb. After the mind becomes accustomed to sitting, we can combine our practice with all the Dharma we want. We sit in the lotus position with a straight back and practice mindfulness of breathing, wise attention, clear meditation, etc. You can practice any method you desire. 2. Seclusion. Seclusion is precisely for becoming familiar with the 6 sense organs, so they are not pulled or seduced by the 6 sense objects. A practitioner should understand that seclusion here refers to loneliness with the mind, not living alone in a solitary scene. Even if we are alone, if we still engage in internal monologues and our minds wander outward, it is not true seclusion. How to practice? For 10 minutes at a time, sit in a closed room without any interaction, listening, awareness, looking, or thoughts. No matter what's going on externally, we do not care. We do not need to know. At the beginning, set your attention, seclusion, I know I am in seclusion, contemplating greed, contemplating anger, contemplating delusion. When the time is up, attend, stop. I know I am stopping, contemplating greed, contemplating anger, contemplating delusion. It's very difficult at first, not peaceful at all. The mind keeps constantly fluctuating. After a long time, when the mind becomes accustomed, gradually increase the duration to 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and more. Stay in the room without talking to anyone. Once you've reached over 6 months, seclusion becomes easy. To tie yourself down in one place, the practitioner can watch TV, listen to music, but don't pay attention to what you're listening to and watch. Let's attend what you practice to get your mind used to it. Once you put your mind on the TV, the result will be addicted to TV or music. Your practice will not be successful. After a while, when you can tie yourself down, you can give up watching TV, listening to music, or playing games, and focus on practicing to get your mind used to the Buddha's teachings. Remember to practice to get your mind familiar with it naturally and leisurely. Don't let your mind fall into repression. 3. Mindfulness of breathing. It is a cultivating Dharma, practicing one Dharma as explained in Part 4. At first, being unfamiliar, we only pay attention to the philtrum. We don't focus on following the breath. It takes a while to get used to it. Now, when we breathe, we clearly feel the breath going in and out of the philtrum. If it's difficult to feel the philtrum at first, the practitioner can place a finger on the philtrum and feel it. When the feeling is familiar, do not put your hand on it anymore. Practicing the Dharma isn't rigid and doesn't get hung up on it. Practicing the true Buddha Dharma is about being natural. let go so that our soul can be at ease and peaceful. Absolutely no rigidity, no worries at all. Only then will the mind comfortably accept and happily follow us. 4. Long-distance walking meditation. Explained in Part 5.
5. Clear meditation. After each practice, for example, the practitioner walks meditation for a long time, not thinking or moving at all. Then sit still and practice stillness for 1 minute. Sitting in the lotus position is better, but not necessary. When beginning, set the attention, clear meditation. I am practicing clear meditation, contemplating greed, contemplating anger, contemplating delusion. Upon finishing, the practitioner also attends. Stop. I know I am stopping, contemplating greed, contemplating anger, contemplating delusion. Why do we practice clear meditation after each cultivation? After finishing the practice, we must maintain peace for the mind to absorb it. The mind needs time to remember the practice. During meditation, samadhi arises, which needs silence to accumulate in our body. This dharma is very difficult because of how our mind doesn't think and how our body doesn't move when we are acting. Therefore, we practice for 1 minute to get the mind used to it. Once the mind is accustomed, gradually increasing the time will prevent mental suppression. In great detail, clear meditation is simply the whole body relaxing and only focusing on breathing. If the practitioner cultivates for 1 hour each day, the joy of enlightenment will appear before him. 6. Eating only a vegetarian meal a day. 1. First, the practitioner must practice being a vegetarian. From childhood, we have eaten animal flesh, so our minds have become accustomed to it, and it is impossible to give it up. When we eat anything strange, our minds reject it and create a state of insecurity, agitation, lethargy, and negative thinking. For example, a practitioner who is used to eating rice with fish sauce will feel uncomfortable eating rice with soy sauce. Following the master's instructions exactly, after 3 months, the practitioner enjoyed a vegetarian diet and no longer craved animal life. From then on, the practitioner's heart of compassion, love, and forgiveness naturally blossomed, and his personality began to become gentle and lovable. Day and night, at any time, the practitioner constantly attends, I want to be vegetarian, and then contemplates, they also want to live like me, or vegetarianism is a tonic, or eating animal meat is barbaric, cruel, disgusting, and smelly. The master only suggests, and the practitioner must create a suitable attention sentence for his mind. Then the mind will be interested in accepting. Once the mind has been imbued with these attentions, the practitioner will eventually feel a spontaneous desire to eat vegetarian food and will be amazed at how enjoyable it is. The practitioner will no longer feel restless or uncomfortable. A few weeks later, the mind gets used to it. The practitioner automatically no longer likes to eat animal lives. At that time, the practitioner feels disgusted when seeing people eating animal lives. Note, the practitioner should continue to eat normally and must attend to his mind until it becomes familiar. Only then will the practitioner's vegetarian diet have long-term effects. 2. After establishing a vegetarian lifestyle, the practitioner attends to decrease his meal frequency. Just keep the attention always, regularly and continuously to make the mind familiar. When the mind is familiar, we can easily reduce the number of meals and eventually just 1 meal daily. Remember that the attention is easy to get bored, but we have to do it, for it's how we familiarize the mind. When the mind is familiar with our command, we will be surprised. We have mastered the mind. Suppose the practitioner is eating 4 meals a day. Continue eating 4 meals as usual, but the practitioner always attends, I want to eat 3 meals a day. After a few months of the mind becoming accustomed to that intention, the practitioner begins to skip a meal and eat 3 meals a day. The choice of which meal to skip depends on each person's circumstances. While practicing, if skipping a meal causes restlessness or uncomfort, we have the right to eat fruit or cake. Subsequently, we intend to discontinue snacking. Achieving this signifies progress in our practice. Once you've experienced tranquility eating 3 meals for a few months, and if not, patiently wait, there's no rush. Set your attention, I want to eat 2 meals a day. Continue in this way and gradually reduce until you are eating only 1 meal a day. Let's select a suitable time for you and always eat at that hour. It doesn't need to be noon. While practicing 1 meal a day, feel free to drink water when needed. But do not worry. Once you become adept at 1 meal a day, saliva will naturally appear abundantly, helping you no longer feel thirsty. When practicing mindful eating, always attend that everything is powder. You chew thoroughly, it is clearly powder and has a sweet taste. Then everything you eat will be delicious. At this stage, the practitioner will clearly see that he's free from hunger, cravings, and the anticipation of mealtimes, which is a success. This means that if you don't feel hungry, even when the mealtime is past, you've succeeded. At that time, the practitioner feels holy and free from all desires. Although he no longer desires anything, he finds immense peace and joy in seclusion. The principle of the Buddhist Dharma is finding happiness and contentment within oneself. It is at this point that we are advancing towards self-mastery. It's wonderful.
Things to remember. 1. Before practicing any Dharma, we must attend, and when we stop, we must also attend. For example, at the beginning of practicing sitting in the lotus position, we set our attention. I sit in the lotus position, contemplating greed, contemplating anger, contemplating delusion. Then, when we stop after sitting for exactly 1 minute, we also attend. I stop sitting, contemplating greed, contemplating anger, contemplating delusion. Attention is to train the mind to listen to our commands. Through the practice of wise attention, we become skillful and are able to control the mind. This means we gradually train ourselves to master the mind. 2. We must practice exactly for the time we set. For example, if we practice long walking meditation for 10 minutes, we must stop after 10 minutes. Because the time is so short at first, we can practice many times. 3. We must practice daily, just like we exercise. We should approach the practice with a playful attitude, free from worry, concern, or anticipation. Let the Buddhist teachings naturally enter our minds, making it an unbreakable habit. That is, when practicing, we only pay attention to our body, we observe what appears on our body and how our body and mind transform. This is the secret of practicing the right Dharma. Senior practitioners don't worry about anything. Just keep practicing. At the naturally right time, you will let go easily with no more attachments. Letting go at the right time is when you will attain enlightenment.
4.
During practice, if thoughts arise, ignore them and pay no attention. As the practice becomes routine, these thoughts will naturally subside. Generally, when we practice, our bodies change and our mental states undergo many shifts. So there's no need for concern. Simply persevere with your practice. When you become familiar with it, everything will settle back into place. 5. It's crucial to understand that the practitioner is engaging in mental training. So don't worry about other things like eating, wearing, living, sleeping. When the mind is familiar and bright, it will motivate the practitioner to practice diligently until success. Similar to learning to cook, sew, arrange flowers, dance, or play sports, initially everything is chaotic. After a while, we get used to it and we become proficient. Everything will fall into place. If you're sleepy, let's sleep. If you're hungry, let's eat. But you have to know the limit. Don't let yourself become incurably addicted. 6. Cultivation is the process of training the mind to become familiar and mindful. Therefore, we practice at first for a very short time. When our mind is familiar, we gradually increase the time. Practice slowly to get the mind used to it, just like we teach children to play and learn at the same time. Absolutely never be impatient or rush to increase too quickly, which could ruin everything. Only when each Dharma reaches 1 hour and seclusion is sustained for a continuous 6 months does the practitioner adequately prepare the necessary provisions to enter the sacred path of monastic life. 7. Once we have become familiar with the 6 basic methods, we combine them into a practice. After each practice Dharma, we take a few minutes of rest, during which we use clear meditation. Seclusion can be combined with sitting in the lotus position, mindfulness of breathing, walking meditation, or clear meditation. The integration is self-designed by the practitioner based on their mental disposition. At first, practice for short duration. As you grow familiar, gradually lengthen the time until it fills your whole life. 8. Once wise attention and the 6 fundamental Dharma are proficient, and the practitioner decides to enter the sacred path of monastic life to attain truth, then carefully read the Noble Eightfold Path, the 12 Nidanas, the 37 Factors of Enlightenment, the Scriptures of Master Thonglak, and the Nikaya Scriptures. The purpose is to choose a suitable Dharma and only one Dharma. Then persistently engage in that practice until it is deeply absorbed, resulting in attainment. Don't worry, because you don't have to read it all. Just read slowly, and when you come across Dharma, your mind will naturally rise and demand it. Your whole body will tremble with a very strange and wonderful excitement. At that moment, take that Dharma and cultivate it, because that practice aligns with your individual characteristics.
How is practicing the 6 basic dharmas beneficial? 1. Our minds are accustomed to living in greed and adharma. Now we practice gradually letting go of adharma and greed and getting used to the right dharma. This means we gradually separate from lust and adharma, helping the mind become accustomed and preventing suffering for ourselves, others, and all living beings through body, speech, and mind, just as the Buddha taught. 2. Upon becoming accustomed and mastering the 6 basic dharma, and when the opportunity arises for us to embark on the holy path of monastic practice, our preparations are complete. We are no longer afraid of anything. We are not scared of seclusion or being alone. Eating a single daily meal, encountering cravings and hunger, we fear nothing. For fetters of sensual desires, we no longer have any attachment because we have become accustomed to practicing. The basic practices are now familiar. Now, combining them with a dharma that we choose is wonderful, helping us confidently and diligently cultivate until success. 3. On the contrary, we cannot give up lust, fetters of sensual desires, etc., so we can calmly cultivate like exercising. Until we reach asanakama, near-death karma, we will receive 2 great benefits. A. Through our familiarity with the Buddha's Dharma, the natural reactions of our mind and body at the time of death will naturally help us attain enlightenment. This is a common occurrence among many practitioners during the Buddha's time. B. Thanks to nurturing the cultivation mind, we will transcend and avoid being reborn as animals. We will become people with many better conditions. This is the Buddha's teaching. Standing still leads to sinking, and moving forward leads to drifting, so only transcending is the way. It means that we must base on cultivation to escape karmic debts. Don't worry when eating only 1 meal a day. Master Thien has verified it for 1 year by going to the gym, exercising like a professional athlete 2 hours every day. The health condition is very good, with an extremely peaceful and comfortable mood. The master guarantees that the laborer still eats 1 meal a day in peace and has money left over for other things. Especially, it's no more desire for lust.
7.
for practitioners who want to cultivate the 8 precepts. This is an excellent method for Buddhists who are still heavily burdened with family obligations, have not been able to practice, and are still hesitating between staying and going. Buddhists who have seen the true Dharma and want to practice it, but their minds are still chaotic, are still immersed in desires, and are unable to let go completely. Don't blame yourself anymore. Don't lament and regret anymore. Because wrong habits cannot be abandoned immediately. Stay calm, and let's practice the 8 precepts together. It will not affect the daily life of Buddhists. Enjoy the pleasures of life, dear Buddhists. It's best to take time to practice, like bathing in the true Dharma once a month. In this way, we can cleanse the mind of greed and lust to create peace and clearness for our souls and give us the determination to leave this fleeting life. First, should the practitioner choose to practice according to the Buddha or the holy monks? Cultivating Buddha means that we always think about Buddha's practice life, and we wish to do the same. Focusing on the monks means choosing a monk that we like, such as Rahula, Dadyudala, Chudapantaka, Upalavana, and more. Remember that we only pick one. Always think about that monk and wish to do like them. Next, the practitioners gather into groups and begin to practice 1 day a month, living just like the Buddha or like a holy monk. During this day, we practice seclusion, eat 1 vegetarian meal, walk, stand, lay down, and sit as we want. But let's remain silent, not hearing, not seeing, not knowing, and not worrying about anything. Continue directing their mind towards themselves, thinking about themselves, and thinking about the Buddha or the chosen holy monk. In advance. At the beginning of practice, it is very difficult for the practitioner to sit still in a room for 8 hours. Since we are new to practice, we must gradually acclimate ourselves. If we sit still in a room, we will become monological, that is, talking nonsense to ourselves or having negative thoughts. Therefore, long walking meditation is the best approach, helping us focus our minds. While walking, we attend more, and there are many other benefits. Besides, we can also practice wise attention and the 6 basic Dharma. When the time spent sitting in the room gradually increases, the time spent on walking meditation gradually decreases, reducing to a minimum of 15 minutes per day. After practicing for a while and getting used to it, we can increase the time to 2 days per month. Gradually, this is increased to a full month. Once the mind is accustomed, we continue rising to 2 months, 3 months, and more. This sustained effort can lead to the development of a habitual practice, ultimately culminating in enlightenment, similar to the Buddha. Why does practicing the 8 precepts retreat require gathering a few people? Thanks to the mutual support, one person influences another to practice together. Practicing alone is very difficult and easily leads to discouragement. To put it simply, if one person jumps into the water, he might be scared. But when many people jump into the water together, everyone enjoys it. Observing the 8 precepts is extremely beneficial for practitioners. The older adults will have abundant health, clear and bright minds, and be free of the disease of elderly dementia. Older people who practice the 8 precepts regularly can attain enlightenment before their death. During the Buddhist time, many seniors attained enlightenment at their dying moments by practicing the 8 precepts. Next, observing the 8 precepts is beneficial in helping our minds move away from greed and lust gradually, turning our minds towards good Dharma. Thanks to that, we are confident and strong in our practice to achieve enlightenment. How does the practice of observing the 8 precepts help to rid our minds of greed and lust? It cleanses our minds daily, removing the images of greed and lust that weigh heavily on our souls. Generally, we are attached to food, lust, money, power, and material things. The 8 precepts will soothe us, gradually diminishing these desires. We decrease a little each day, and ultimately we decrease significantly, often without our awareness.
Notes to practitioners. 1. Specific characteristics, locked points. Each person has their own unique characteristics,
Therefore, when practicing, they will have their own locked point. If we can break through that closure point, we will attain enlightenment. For example, consider the 5 kleshas: greed, anger, ignorance, pride, and doubt. Which klesha is the most difficult for us to eliminate? Or, try relating among the 5 sensual desires: fame, wealth, lust, food, and sleep. Some people are most greedy for money. Some people are most greedy for fame. Some people are most greedy for sex. Some people are most happy to be praised by others. Meaning that we will attain enlightenment if we overcome the most difficult desire to eliminate. In the past, when Upalavana heard Venerable Maudgalyana preach the Dharma, she immediately let go of all hatred, jealousy, and resentment, which vanished, and she attained enlightenment. Her special characteristic was ignorance. Ananda, the Buddha's attendant, has immense and profound Buddhist knowledge. When he could not practice this Dharma or that Dharma, he continued practicing another Dharma. He practiced for a long time but could not attain enlightenment. At the Nikaya Sutra, Ananda was invited out because he had not yet attained enlightenment. Thanks to this opportunity, he suddenly realized that each practitioner only practices one Dharma. At that time, he realized his special characteristic and locked point, which was his excessive Buddhist knowledge. With this huge knowledge, there is no liberating insight. Knowledge must be lost for liberating insight to appear. For simpler comprehension, evil precludes good. Darkness negates light. Ignorance excludes wisdom. From then on, he decided to choose the Dharma of the one fine night, Bhaddekarata, applying wise attention Dharma to dispel his knowledge day and night. A liberating insight arose, and he attained enlightenment. Ananda's special characteristic was his abundance of knowledge. When he eradicated knowledge, liberating insight overflowed, and he achieved the 3 insights. Nowadays, if a practitioner wants to identify his locked point and wants to see his special characteristic clearly, he must practice the 6 basic dharmas to become familiar. When the 6 basic dharmas are mastered, we will no longer be ignorant and our minds will become clear. At that time, we read the Nikaya Sutras. When standing before the vast forest of dharmas, naturally, there is dharma that upon reading it makes our whole body move and pushes us to accept that dharma as the main dharma. Then we diligently practice it to attain it. To put it simply, in a large crowd, there is only one person that captures our attention. Likewise, with the 6 basic dharma that we are practicing, there is a dharma that enters our mind, so we have already attained the fruit. 2. The sufficient level in practice. During practice, carelessly crossing the sufficient level leads back to greed and lust and falls into evil ways without knowing it. This is what is meant by "a miss is as good as a mile." Now Master Thien shares with you a valuable Dharma lesson, helping you avoid falling into bad Dharma and wasting your cultivation in vain. Monastics need to understand and know the sufficient level clearly. What is the sufficient level? Example 1. The Buddha taught the monks to beg for food 1 meal a day. Thus, eating 1 meal a day is the sufficient level for monks. If any monk eats more than 1 meal, whether it is for fun or snacks, he will fall into greed, and falling into greed is falling into the wrong path. Adding to that, eating more of the delicious food and less of the bad food means not yet getting rid of greed. It means not yet thoroughly understanding impure food. Food is inherently dirty, and this also leads to falling into the wrong path. What is the point of practicing anymore? Wasting your cultivation in vain. Example 2. During the time the Buddha transmitted the Dharma, he did not allow writing down because he knew that writing down would make practitioners focus on memorizing and become immersed in understanding the theory thoroughly. Unknowingly, this would lead practitioners astray into an addiction to knowledge of the Buddha Dharma, to increase the greed for wisdom. The result is to fall into the wrong path. What is the point of practicing anymore? Wasting your cultivation in vain. Example 3.
Nowadays, because there is no Buddha to transmit the Dharma to practitioners, practitioners must learn by themselves in order to practice correctly according to the Buddha's Dharma. Master Thien advises, don't memorize, don't think too deeply. Just read and understand the Four Noble Truths, the Five Aggregates, the Eightfold Path, the 12 Nidanas, and the 37 Factors of Enlightenment and the Precepts. That is sufficient. If you decide to practice, then forget and disregard what you have read and understood. Instead, focus on diligently applying wise attention to cultivate the 6 fundamental dharmas until they are mastered. That is enough. If you learn more deeply, and remember, you will accidentally go beyond the sufficient level, enter into the knowledge of the Buddha Dharma, satisfy your greed for wisdom, and then fall into the wrong path. It's fortunate for practitioners who have a predestined relationship with Master Thien. He has written and explained clearly, helping practitioners understand the meaning of the 5 aggregates, the Eightfold Path, the 12 Nidanas, and the 37 Factors of Enlightenment. This is because Master Thien writes in simple language, which everyone can understand immediately. Example 4. The Buddha taught the monks that when meditating, you should find a quiet place not to disturb others and be disturbed by others. Choose a cemetery, a forest, or an abandoned house, for example. It's that simple. But the practitioners think too far, so they seek quiet, deserted places, beautiful sceneries, such as majestic mountains, vast oceans, and dreamy, slowly flowing rivers. Unintentionally, these practitioners have lost themselves in the natural scenery. That means their minds have run away to enjoy the beautiful worldly scenes and are inspired to write poems to leave their name for posterity. As a result, they get lost in the wrong path without even knowing it. They practice forever, but still get nowhere. They don't find the causes. They lament and complain about their miserable fate in the world. Example 5. When entering meditation, especially the second dhyana, the practitioner falls off the stage here without realizing it, without knowing it. At the second dhyana, the practitioners can know the past of each eon of his life. We only need to know that it is so. That is enough. However, if the practitioners become fascinated by their past, want to understand thoroughly, or come from filial piety and then search for where their parents are, they unintentionally sink into sensual desire. This leads to failed cultivation. No guide, no realization. That's how it is. Don't worry, just focus on your cultivation. Once that's done, whenever you want, you can enter meditation and investigate clearly without any problem. However, once you've completed your cultivation, you'll immediately know if the connection remains or has ended. If the connection remains, then you can search. On the contrary, let it go. Once the connection is gone, searching will be useless anyway.
3. Don't think about meditation. Master Thien knows that practitioners are immersed in worries about contemplation and meditation and want to know the results too soon. Because the practitioner's mind is not yet clear, the practitioner falls into thinking without knowing it. The Buddha taught very clearly, you must see truly. What does see truly mean? It means seeing with the mind. If you want to see with the mind, you must first train the mind to become clear. Talented doctors, famous lawyers, gemologist kings, or successful businessmen have to train their minds for decades. But practitioners who have just started practicing for a few days and have already contemplated and meditated, what else could it be but getting lost in thinking? Therefore, practitioners absolutely never think about meditation. Master Thien states that meditation is the final stage of a monastic life. It means that cultivating at the end of life makes the mind clear. Contemplation and meditation will naturally appear before you, and then the results will follow. If you are still thinking about meditation, this is like putting the plow in front of the buffalo. Infatuating with meditation will lead the practitioner into far-reaching and distant thinking. When a practitioner cultivates wise attention and the 6 foundational dharmas well, he can naturally enter a peaceful and refreshing meditative state in the physical body and mind. When the practitioner brings the Buddha's teachings into his mind, the full appearance of the liberating insight, combined with wise attention, will take his mind into meditation leisurely and gently. If we practice sequentially and perfectly, whatever comes will come. That's due to the liberating insight that helps us understand what we should do. Don't worry about it beforehand, okay? Let's take it as it comes. The book on practicing the right Buddha Dharma. Master Thien left a manual for future generations so that everyone could follow it in their practice. If you have any problems while practicing, you can open it up to review and correct them, and you will feel at ease as if you had a master by your side. You will no longer have to worry about going astray or practicing the wrong Dharma that the Buddha taught. Master Thien wishes that everyone will practice the right Buddhist Dharma and one day achieve the desired results, liberating themselves from the cycle of birth and death. If you want to learn the Dharma to create faith for yourself, please visit Master Thich Tien's website at te-tichkadaitahan.net or request 3 books that have been licensed by the Ministry of Information and Communications to be printed and published. Beside book for practice, How to Deal with Consciousness and important Dharma talks will help practitioners understand the basics of true Buddhism. The Dharma lecture helps practitioners understand the Dharma according to the teachings of Buddha Shakyamuni. Practitioners ask about the path, helping practitioners gain experience to practice according to the true Dharma. These are the 3 most valuable books of progressive humanity, helping everyone understand the teachings of Buddha Shakyamuni that have been submerged by heresy for more than 2,550 years. Now, Arahant Thich Tong Lak has illumined the true Dharma, shining light on suffering souls in the world, and Master Thien has elaborated on it with the simplest language so that everyone who reads can understand clearly. Thanks to the kind-hearted True Dharma Buddhist followers for their support of te-tichkadaitahan.net, which has just finished printing. These 3 books are essential for the elderly of the new era, because the elderly do not have to live to enjoy pleasures, carry sorrow, suffer illness, wait for the day to follow their ancestors or bother their children and grandchildren. That is outdated. Instead, they need to use their empty, aimless wandering time for cultivation to save themselves, save others, and save all sentient beings. For older people, nothing is more precious than health and a clear mind. 3 books perfectly answer all their concerns. Co-wishing. 1. May all sentient beings deeply believe in humanistic and karmic morality, living without causing suffering to themselves, others, or all living beings. 2. May all sentient beings awaken and turn back to the true Buddha Dharma, practicing and being liberated from the cycle of birth and death. 3. May those who have placed their whole foot onto the boat of the Dharma, determined to diligently practice according to the true Buddha Dharma, soon attain enlightenment. 4. May I and my fellow practitioners, through the sublime blessings of printing the Dharma treasure of liberation, sowing the seeds of the true Dharma, protecting the true Dharma, practicing wise attention and the 6 fundamental Dharmas, at the time of death, have a mind that is unmoved, calm, happy, and unworried, and completely eradicate defilements, in this very life. Homage to the Buddha. Disciples Bhikkhuni Thich Nu Thun Chow, Bhikkhuni Thich Nu Dio Tung, Bhikkhu Thich Thung Dak, Bhikkhuni Thich Nu Dio Nia,